This is Jill. Gideon's sketchbook, illustrated by Jill Mockingbird. It's Holy Week, but I just wanted to get this in. When I do a new book, I've done 18 books. I send about 5 to Idaho, 7 to California, 10 to Pennsylvania, and 10 around town. So I hope you're blessed by reading the Bible with me. Judges 6:19. So Gideon went in and prepared a young goat. A kid is a baby goat. He prepared it to eat, cooked it, cut it up, and unleavened bread, cakes with no leaven or no yeast, from an ephah of flour, about 50 pounds of flour. That's a lot. White flour, brown wheat flour, I'm not sure. So Gideon went in and prepared a young goat and unleavened bread from an ephah of flour. Judges 6:19. The meat he put in a basket. The goat's flesh was put in a basket, and he put the broth in a pot. Broth is like soup, similar. Seasoned soup kind of thing. And he brought them out, seasoned water maybe. And he brought them out to him. Broth in a pot, meat in a basket, and unleavened bread. He brought them under the terebinth tree and presented them. Here you go. Here's some broth, cakes, and goat flesh. The meat he put in a basket, and he put the broth in a pot, and he brought them out to him under the terebinth tree and presented them. Judges 6:20. The angel of the Lord said to him, "Take the meat and the unleavened bread and lay them on this rock and pour out the broth." Okay, so take the meat and the unleavened bread and lay them on the rock and pour out the broth. And he did so. Put it on the meat and cakes on the rock and pour the broth on it, or the seasoned water, like soup. We have chicken broth, beef broth. Then the angel of the Lord put out the end of the staff that was in his hand. So I guess he had a stick, like a walking stick, a staff in his hand. The Psalms 23 says, "My rod and my staff, they comfort you. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me, like a shepherd." The angel of the Lord said to him, "Take the meat and the unleavened bread and lay them on this rock and pour out the broth." And he did so. Then the angel whoops, I don't have Lord. Okay, I gotta remember this. The angel of the Lord put out the end of the staff that was in his hand. Judges 6:21, and touched the meat and the unleavened bread. So he touched the meat and the bread, and fire rose out of the rock. Fire rose out of the rock and consumed the meat and the unleavened bread. Went on fire, burned up. He touched the meat and the unleavened bread, and fire rose out of the rock and consumed the meat and the unleavened bread. Judges 6:21, and the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight. The angel disappeared. I've been drawing these pictures for the last 15 years, so I can tell this is an older drawing than the newer drawings I drew to explain the stories. And the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight. The angel left his sight. Goodbye, angel. Where did the angel go? And the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight. Judges 6:22. Now Gideon perceived that he was the angel of God, of the Lord. Gideon understood, wow, he was an angel. So Gideon said, "Alas, O Lord God, I have seen an angel of the Lord face to face." I've seen an angel face to face. Gideon tells the Lord, maybe praying it. Like with Samson, when his parents saw an angel, they're like, "Oh no, we're going to die." Now Gideon perceived that he was the angel of the Lord. So Gideon said, Alas, O Lord God, for I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face. Judges 6:23. Then the Lord said to him, Peace be with you. Peace, it's okay. Do not fear. No fear. It's all right. You shall not die. You won't die. Lord tells Gideon. So Gideon built an altar there to the Lord. I guess when something incredible happens, people built an altar or altar to God, to remember God. Just say thank you. Then the Lord said to him, Peace be with you. Do not fear. You shall not die. So Gideon built an altar there to the Lord. Judges 6:24. And called it the Lord is Peace. Jehovah Shalom is the name of the altar, or Yahweh Shalom. The Lord is Peace. To this day, right now, it is still in Orpha of the Abizarites. The altar is still there. So they called it the Lord is Peace. To this day, it is still in the Orpha of the Abizarites. Judges 6:25. Now it came to pass, it happened the same night, on the night Gideon saw the angel, that the Lord said to him, so it happened quickly, take your father's young bull, take your dad's male cow, the bull, the second bull of 7 years old, and take the bull that's 7 years old. So I couldn't tell if it was one bull or two bulls. God tells Gideon, Now it came to pass that same night, that the Lord said to him, Take your father's young bull, the second bull of 7 years, Judges 6:25, and tear down the altar of Baal that your father has. Tear down your dad's altar idol, and cut down the wooden image that is beside it. Cut down like Asherah poles, I believe. Trees or branches that would be used for worship, idol worship. Cut down the grove next to the altar. The grove, sorry, my eyes aren't too good. Cut down the grove next to the altar. Go do that. Tear down the altar of Baal that your father has, and cut down the wooden image that is beside it. Judges 6:26, and build an altar to the Lord your God on top of this rock in the proper arrangement. Gideon builds an altar in proper order, and maybe Jewish custom order or tradition, and take the second bull and offer a burnt sacrifice. Okay, so there is a second bull. Offer that bull as a sacrifice with the wood of the image which you shall cut down. So the wood that's used for the idol, use wood from the Asherah pole. So those people are going to be angry, huh? We're going to change the idol worship and use it for God's purposes. Build an altar to the Lord your God on top of this rock in the proper arrangement, and take the second bull and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of the image which you shall cut down. Judges 6:27. So Gideon took 10 men from among his servants. Come on, Gideon and 10 servants, and did as the Lord had said to him. Gideon pushed down the idol and cut down the Asherah pole, like God said. But because he feared his father's household and the men of the city too much to do it by day, I'm afraid of the men. Let's wait. It's daytime. He did it by night. Okay, it's dark. Let's go tear down idol down. Gideon and his 10 servants go out at night. Gideon looking around. Hey, who's watching me? We're going to do this in secret. Let's read that again. So Gideon took 10 men from among his servants and did as the Lord had said to him. But because he feared his father's household and the men of the city too much to do it by day, he did it by night. Judges 6:28. And when the men of the city arose early in the morning, so they woke up there was the altar of Baal torn down. So they woke up early in the morning and they saw the idol was torn down. What? Who did this? And the wooden image beside it was cut down. So some versions say images, wood, some say tree grove. The grove was cut down, and the second bull was being offered on the altar which had been built. Second bull as sacrificed on the new altar. So what I do sometimes, I look at Bible Hub online and it gives me different Bible versions. So the grove was cut down, or they got rid of, they cut down the wooden images. So Bible Hub I would recommend for different versions, old versions, modern versions. And when the men of the city arose early in the morning, there was the altar of Baal torn down, and the wooden image beside it was cut down, and the second bull was being offered on the altar which had been built. Judges 6:29. So they said to each other, "Who has done this thing? Who did this?" The men of the city said, "What happened to Baal's altar and Asherapol?" Asherapol, sorry. I don't know why there's a T in there. Who did this? Sacrifice with wood from the Asherapol. And when they had inquired and asked about it, after careful inspection, who did this? And asked who did this, they said, Gideon, son of Joash, has done this thing. Gideon did it. So they said to one another, who has done this thing? And when they had inquired and asked who did this, they said, Gideon, son of Joash, has done this thing. I'm not sure who they is. They said, maybe among themselves, the men of the city. The men of the city, they said, Gideon, son of Joash, has done this thing. Judges 6:30. Then the men of the city said to Joash, bring out your son that he may die. Okay, Gideon's going to die now. We're mad. Because he has torn down the altar of Baal. He's going to die because he tore down our idol. And because he has cut down the wooden image that was beside it. He's destroyed our idol. Bring out Gideon, they said to his dad. Then the men of the city said to Joash, bring out your son that he may die, because he has torn down the altar of Baal, and because he has cut down the wooden image that was beside it. Judges 6:31. But Joash said to all who stood against him, would you plead for Baal? So Joash is going on his son's side, so that's good. Young men of the city come to him, and he's like, would you plead for Baal? Would you save him? I'll save him. I'll save you, Baal. Let the one who would plead for him be put to death by morning. So if you're going for Baal, then you need to die. He who pleads for him, let him be put to death. If he is a god, let him plead for himself. I can defend myself. Because his altar has been torn down. He can defend himself. His altar was torn down. Let Baal talk for himself. But Joash said to all who stood against him, would you plead for Baal? Would you save him? Let the one who would plead for him be put to death by morning. If he is a god, let him plead for himself, because his altar has been torn down. Judges 6:32. Therefore on that day he called him Jerubbaal. I think of Jerubbaal. I don't know. Jerubbaal. That day he called him Jerubbaal, not Gideon, saying, let Baal plead against him. Gideon, please save me. Let Baal plead for himself. If he's alive, he can do it, but he's not, because he has torn down his altar. Call him Jerubbaal, because he has torn down Baal's altar. Your name is Jerubbaal now. Joash tells Gideon. Therefore, on that day, he called him Jerubbaal, saying, let Baal plead against him, because he has torn down his altar. Okay, let's stop there. Thanks for joining me. Have a good, blessed day.